Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Letting some more friends in here. All right. Well, happy Tuesday. It is lunchtime where I'm at, but I know some people it might be lunch. It might still be like early morning, but I was chatting here with our Spotlight series, Tiffany. She's like, I've got my Alani, I'm ready to go. So whatever you need to buckle up for a great session, we are so excited for this one. Yes, Alani and caffeine helps everything. So if you are new here to Lady Titans, welcome. We are so glad you're here. This is our Spotlight series, which we host once a month. So we bring in a different speaker every single month, someone that's going to provide you with some value, whether it's from a specific topic or specific training. Maybe it's just a little bit like, just sharing, which is going to be a lot of what we're talking about today with Tiffany as an actual plumbing contractor, what they are doing in their business, how we can really grow and share from that. So, if this is your first time here, welcome. We also do numerous other events throughout the month. So, another one of our main events is our Lady Titans Lounge. And so that will be coming up very soon, but that is a completely unscripted. There's no agenda, there's no designated speakers or anything like that. But that is a really great place for women to be like, hey, like I'm really struggling with this. Has anyone else ever dealt with this? Or does anyone else have some advice on this? Or sometimes we even just need like a community to be a cheerleader. It's like, hey, like I don't really know who I could tell, but like I'm kind of proud of this accomplishment, or I just got promoted and I want someone to celebrate with me. That is what this community is for. So we are a group of women all in the trades here to support one another, build each other up. And so we are so excited to have you a part of all of our Lady Titans events. Speaking of events, we also have another fantastic opportunity happening this week on this Thursday. So we're actually having one of our webinars, and this is kind of a newer thing for Lady Titans. So if you've been around for a little bit, this is another just value add we're looking to add to you guys. So on Thursday, we're going to be having um, it's presented by HVAC marketers and it's titled Spring Marketing Tune-Up. So, we're all in spring season trying to get those checkouts happening. What can we be doing for our tune-up? And so there's no better way to make sure that your marketing is actually working. So this will be a hands-on workshop where we'll run live audits on the channels that are driving bookings, get real feedback on real businesses in the room. So you can leave with a personalized checklist and at least three things that you can act on before we walk out. So very hands-on. There is just a $20 cost with this, okay? But everything else in Lady Titans we do is completely free. And so we feel this is a great opportunity, a huge value add. You'll really walk away with some great things. So let me drop that down here in the chat. So if you have not registered, it is not too late, okay? So we'd love to see you guys this Thursday, happening at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So this same time on Thursday. So would love to have you guys. But that's just a few things coming up. But I'm so excited for today's Spotlight series. So we have Tiffany Mitchell. She is the owner with her husband of Half Moon Plumbing in Oklahoma, and they are doing some pretty incredible things there with their company and their business and their team culture. And so we just kind of wanted to do like a little bit like Q&A, share the nitty-gritty stories and everyday challenges and wins and stuff because we knew that'd be super applicable to the ladies here in the Lady Titans. And so Tiffany, I think, is one of those that she's in a market where I think there's lots of other people that are very loud and like very boisterous about what they're doing. But Tiffany is a good example of humility and like putting your head down and getting to work and really doing incredible things without having to have all the noise behind her to do it. And so I'm super excited to dive in and share with her. And so you guys feel free to chime in the chat if you have any questions or can relate about anything. We love to keep the engagement going. But Tiffany, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, thanks, Emily. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me come and talk to all the great ladies today.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Okay, so my name is Tiffany Mitchell. I am married to Dustin Mitchell. We have six kiddos. We have five girls and one little boy. And we started Half Moon Plumbing in 2007, 2008. We moved to a little town called Owasso, which is in the Tulsa, like outside of Tulsa. And we came here. I just graduated nursing school. And Dustin grew up with a dad who was in plumbing, and he was, Worked for his dad for a long time, and we were looking for a kind of a clean break from that. It strained the relationship, and so we took the opportunity we had to come up here, and we actually were invited to help start a church. And so that's how we got here. And Dustin thought this is a perfect opportunity to open our own plumbing business. So that's how we got started.
I know 2007, 2008, that was kind of peak of a recession kind of worldwide. So great time to start a business.
Yeah.
Think.
We
What
didn't
were
even know
some
what that word meant. I mean, we didn't have any kids, just graduated college. It was, yeah, we didn't even know.
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed?
Yep, yep, yep.
So tell us some about those early days. Like, what are some of the things, and like you said, like you guys were looking to help start a church, and maybe this was, something you had done before, but like you probably didn't know all the things that running a business entails. Like, what were some of those early day challenges that you had to kind of like figure out, or like, oh, like didn't know this was a part of what we're signing up for?
Yeah, so in the early days, Dustin just mostly did commercial and we hired contract work as needed. And I worked full time as a nurse, but I also was doing the bookkeeping and the paperwork. So anybody who's in commercial knows you have to do the payouts. And I was keeping up with that, which was a crazy amount of paperwork to do on top of my regular job. Um, so yeah, we that's what we were doing in the beginning. I think like and so when we had our first child, I stopped nursing. I came home and did the business full time. And then we had Gentry in 2011 and she was born with special needs and it just I really took a step back. We hired out bookkeeping and around that same time and point we had a really bad experience in the commercial world. The contracting company went bankrupt, and we actually didn't get paid our last payout, which fortunately was not a lot because I had stayed on top of the paperwork. But a lot of companies here locally, I didn't. One of them lost nearly $50,000 and didn't get paid on that job. And so that was just kind of like the got the ball rolling for Dustin's like mindset of what are we doing? Like, are we really serving the people that we want to serve? And also in the commercial world, it's like the race to the bottom. No one really cares about the quality of work. It's all bids and hey, we want the lowest bid. So we really made the decision in 2011, 2012 to focus on service and repair in the residential market. So yeah, that's when we really started getting into residential.
So tell us, like, what is it like? Like you said, you were going to school for nursing and, taking care of the kids and stuff, like probably working full time in the business was probably not what you thought you'd be doing. And then I know it probably also changes the dynamics of, just your personal relationship and your home life with your relationship with Dustin and the kids and stuff. So, like, how do you guys navigate that? And, like, what are some of the ways of how you guys make that work now when it wasn't originally plan A, but you're doing it now. And, I know that takes work. What are some of those things that you do to work with your husband in the business?
Yeah, so I mean, for the longest time, I've just kind of been in the background, just giving advice, really just planning like events, getting to know the wives, play dates, like things like that was really how I was involved with the business before. And then like 3 years ago, when we really got intentional with growing the business, Dustin said, he was like, I want you here with me. I want you back into the business. I want to do this with you. And so we had to reevaluate like what that looks like. I was homeschooling full time, 6 kids at the time. So one of the compromises, like non-compromisable things for us was like Christian education. And also we have a kiddo with special needs. So we had to find somebody who understands and who can handle, that unique thing in our family. So it just happened that my mom was also looking, she was done working, but they can't really afford to be done. So we asked her, hey, we'll pay you to come down and like hang out, do homeschool with Gentry. And she was interested in that. So she comes to the house 3 days a week. And so that really has played a major role in me being able to come back to the business and really focus because I know, I know that they're in good hands. I know that Gentry's with somebody that understands her diagnosis and can really help her succeed. Um, so yeah, so at first it was really difficult for me at first. I say that first year we struggled a lot because I went from all my identity being in the kids and homeschooling and mom, wife, all those things. And now, like, I was coming into this role and I didn't even know what that was. Like we hadn't really defined what my job was. I was just coming to help. And so I started like picking up projects that were undone, like uniforms and SOPs and starting up Trainio. Like I started picking up all these little projects, but I didn't really have a defined role. And that was really hard for me because I didn't know really where I fit. And then also because we were together like 24/7, I think like every wife that any wife or woman that stayed home for any amount of time at some point you've said, ugh, if I could just go back to the work, like, ugh. But then, like, when you're there, I'm like, dude, I am with this guy 24/7, you know? And so we really had to work through what that looked like. I mean, Half Moon was on the table all the time. We were talking about it all the time. And I just learned that I just had to communicate, like, look, like, I'm done. Can we not talk about, Half Moon all the time? Like, I need a break. Let's take a sabbatical or 12-hour sabbatical and not talk about anything Half Moon for a while. Now that I'm in the business and I'm feel more comfortable, that's not nearly as much as a problem as it used to be. But we do have some things that, I made kind of a list of non-compromisable things. Like I wanted to have dinner. I still we have special diets in our house that have to be maintained. So that was essential to me. I wanted to have we weren't eating out every night of the week. I wanted to build in some time where we could have home cooked meals together at least once a week, right? So that was a non-compromisable for me. The other is like I'm not going to miss major kids things, like obviously like practices and things we can't make all of them all the time, but you were not going to miss major things. Yeah, so
Well,
just knowing your boundaries and in just communicating with that. Another big one that we try to do is that we really try not to talk Half Moon on Sundays, except for Sunday nights when we're planning for the week. Like we have that segmented time that we set apart to kind of like get on the same page for schedules. But other than that, like we really try not to talk business on Sundays.
I love that. Just having the control and the boundaries to have and identify non-compromises, and
Yep.
whatever that means for you guys, but like being willing to define them and then like hold true to them, I think probably helps you in both aspects. And where you're giving and taking from, personal life and work life to have those be able to meet those non-compromises in both areas of life. So
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. Now,
Yeah, a piece of advice Anna Yano gave me because I talked to her when I first came in, and she gave the advice of like you take on one thing and like you're A on this, and then he's B on this, and then whatever your thing is, and then if he's A and you're B, then he makes the decision. You support it, even if you think it's going to be wrong, whatever, they're in charge of it. And so that really helped too, just to know like, okay, on this decision, I'm the one making it. I'm A and you're B. And that really helped define some of um, those roles when we didn't know specifically, like what I was doing. So yeah.
that's great. Um, well, okay, so you kind of started to talk about the growth of Half Moon. And so you guys have been experiencing a lot of growth. You said, about 3 years ago that y'all were really getting intentional. You started focusing on SOPs, y'all made a switch to residential and stuff. But talk to us a little bit about that growth. Like what have been some key things that you think have like really moved the needle and like where you guys have really you've seen the growth from some of these actions or intentional moves that you made?
So yeah, so we've had slow growth. I mean, we're about to hit our 20th anniversary of being in business. And so, it was just slow and steady. We really did not have any type of SOP. I mean, really, it was the wild, wild west. I mean, just crazy,
It kind
right?
of happened. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just, you go to work and you have fun and you do some plumbing and you hope you have some money in the bank at the end of the day. I mean, and as silly as that sounds, it's really kind of the way it was. I don't even think Dustin knew how to get into our bank account until, 5 years ago. So, he would just be like, "Hey, we have some cash in the bank." I'd be like, "Yeah." He'd be like, "Okay, we're doing good." And so, the number one thing that we decided is when he put this huge goal, like he read Alex Hormozy's book, that gave the statistic that like zero point 0.4 something businesses make it to 10 million in revenue. And so then of course, Dustin being Dustin, he was like, oh, okay, why not? So he put this huge goal in front of the team, and one of the major things that we knew we needed to do was marketing. We probably, I mean, we wouldn't know the percentage because we weren't keeping up with that kind of stuff at that time. But I mean, if I had to guess, it was probably 1 to 3%. I mean, we were spending hardly anything on marketing. And we knew that if we were going to grow, we knew two things. One, that we needed to expand outside of Owasso. We have pretty good market share within Owasso. We knew we needed to go into Tulsa. So to do that, we knew we needed mass media, which we had never we had never done that before. And so billboards and radio were the two main mass media means that we went to. And so that was one thing. The other thing was just intentionality and strategy, right? We just worked backwards. We knew what we wanted to hit in revenue, and so we just took that number and said, what are our trucks running? And if they're bringing in $5,000 in revenue each month, how many trucks are we going to need to get to 10 million? And so we just ran that number backwards and made a plan in that way. Another big thing that we did was like financial, like learning our financials, learning the P&L, just getting down to the mark, like, and we had no idea. Like, I just feel like Dustin says we were like Half Moon was reborn um 3 years ago, and not like at our core, but just how we operate. We just had to learn a new way of operating. I mean, our margins for labor and material are like stupid. So just learning, having to learn the P&L. So yeah.
So, question from the chat. What was the catalyst that got you excited to be intentional with the growth? Like you mentioned the Alex Hormozy book, but like, was that kind of the catalyst, or was there something else that's like, okay, like we're not just gonna haphazardly grow, but like we're gonna be excited and intentional to grow? Was there some other defining moment or kickoff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I call it Dustin's semi midlife crisis.
Okay.
He turned 40 and our oldest turned 13. And we have these things on our to-do list that we had never done. And the two of them were to build a house
Mm.
and to see if we could grow the business. And we did the house building thing in 2020, the worst time ever, by the way, to build a house. And
You pick all
uh,
these good dates to do these things.
oh my gracious, yeah. And I was pregnant with our fifth. And so anyways, it was crazy time. And so that about broke us, by the way. Like that, we've done multiple things in real estate and that about broke us. Just mentally, like we never want to build again. And then after that was done, he was like, let's do it. Like, let's actually see if we can intentionally grow the business. And that stemmed from, I think, that turning 40 of like we don't have much runway left, but it also stemmed from we had a really good group of guys that were working here, that we saw a lot of potential in. And we knew that if we didn't build something here, they would leave. Like they had that much potential that we wanted them to grow with us and not in spite of us, right? Like we didn't want them to go somewhere else and grow. We wanted to have something here that they felt worth staying and investing and building their careers with us. And so we knew that to do that, we needed to build a business, not just run it.
Well, I think that's super mature and like truly like great sign of a great leader of, you mentioned like not only want to do it for your own personal gains and your own personal bucket list and stuff, but like recognizing like what do I need to do for these awesome group of people that I have and like how can I help them grow professionally so they can all meet their goal because you have a rock star team, but like how can you create that opportunity for them? I think that's super, that's yeah, very impressive. I love that.
Yeah, and I just like shout out like we have an amazing manager team and like our ops manager, his name is Garrett, and like we could not have done this without him. I mean, his mind operationally is crazy. And so we're very blessed to have him on the team. And he's one of the ones that like we knew he had major potential. He came in as a CSR, like answering the phones, and now he's our ops manager.
See, that's amazing. There's a career path and growth level in the trades. That's amazing. So
Yep.
like you said, like you guys were really getting intentional to like know your numbers and understand the P&L and be like, or was leveling up your people inside like them growing and figuring out with you, or like did you have to hire outside help and perspective? Like how did you go about learning your numbers and how to adjust things to get your margins right and stuff?
So, two main things happened. And one, I was pushing this, right? Like Dustin still was kind of in la la land about finances. And I signed us up for it was I'm not going to remember the exact name of it, but it was with Tommy Mello and Tom Howard and Ellen Rohr. And it was like I think they call it like their budgeting meeting, right? And so I signed us up and we flew out to Arizona and we were way so far over. Like we didn't even know our logins to QuickBook. And they're like, log into your QuickBooks and pull up this report. And I'm like, I don't even know the login. I'm like texting our bookkeeper, like, what's our login for QuickBooks, right? And so it just really showed us like how much there was to learn and how much we needed to know. And also just like we had never set a budget, right? And it teaches you really like I said, how to work backwards. And so that was very helpful. And the other thing is it was at Freedom, I think, the Freedom Conference, we ran into Ben and Chloe Davis. I don't know if very many people know who they are. Um, but we had a really just like down to earth conversation with them. And it really was just, it was humbling. They were asking us all these questions and we were just learning the P&L. So we were telling them where our numbers were in the margins. And they're like, I mean, basically laughing at us. I mean, like, I think our material at that point was 28%. Because our guys would just go to the supply houses and buy whatever they needed to, and nobody was keeping them accountable. And anyway, it was just a mess. And so that conversation really, I think, turned the light bulb on for Dustin to be like, oh, holy crap, like this is important. And these are things that we can actually control. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, and then you mentioned marketing as another way that you guys got like kind of intentional to help kind of grow the business and stuff. And so you mentioned, doing billboards and radio, but like one thing that I really love about, a lot of what you guys have done with billboards is what I'm going to say like community generated. So like again, like how can you feature local people on your own billboards for them to like shout out their own anniversaries or birthdays or like things that are important to people in your community like Half Moon is going to pay to publicize that and do that. Like, how do you think that, do you think that helped create more buy-in and an awareness from your community by doing that? And again, was it more a risk of like, why would we pay to do that? But like, what do you think the payoff in that was?
Honestly, I don't know that the campaigns have had, I say like dollar value. We just knew that if and I like to always give this caveat for people who are like listening about marketing. What works in our market may not work in your market. Like just flat out just know that. Like if you ever meet a marketing person who is like, you have to do this, that's a huge red flag, right? Because not everything works the same in every market. I know we have good friends and Ashley Warren. The billboards in Austin are hard to get. They're expensive. It may not work, right? Or not easily accessible. In our market, billboards are huge. They're rare, they're pretty cheap. They're everywhere. People are commuting like 30 miles back and forth. They're on the same um, corridors, 2 times a day at least. And so that worked really well in our market. And so when we did the billboards, I decided like we're not going to do, I'm very much like outside the box. Like I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. Maybe that makes me weird. I don't know, but I just don't like it. And so I said, we are not putting, the billboard company came to us and, I think we started off with 6 billboards. And we said we wanted to own the highway coming into Owasso. Like we wanted to own that little corridor. And of course, they're asking us, well, what do you guys want to do? And they're, gave us some examples. And of course, we knew like most contractors are putting their faces on the board. And I'm like, I am not putting my face on a billboard. Like, I don't need to see that. And so I just took a play out of the Bucky's playbook and said, what can we do with phrases? I love that. I love just having like whatever. And so we started just doing moon phrases. And one of them happened to be over the moon. So love you to the moon and back. Dancing in the moonlight, right? Like those are just some of the phrases that we put out on the billboards. And so when Valentine's Day came around, I said, why don't we do a Love You to the Moon and Back campaign? And Dustin was like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, well, let's open it up to the community. We'll tell them we're giving them our spots on the billboard and they can put any type of Valentine's message on the billboard that they want. And, of course, we'll have like Over the Moon with Half Moon or, whatever. Love You to the Moon and Back. And so, yeah, that's how the Valentine's thing started. But I think we were 12 months, 18 months into billboards before we ran that campaign.
But I think, and billboards are one of those things that like it's going to be hard pressed for you to find a direct ROI
Yeah.
of, we spent X number of dollars and it generate. That's not the
Yeah.
intent of billboards. The intent is
No.
how can we build awareness, build brand recognition and stuff. But
Yeah.
when you do something different, like you said, so like again, we've all seen the billboards with the owner's face or a giant piece of, a condenser equipment sitting on the like that means nothing to people. But again, like when they can feel something like
Yeah.
seeing their sweetheart with I love you to the moon, it hits differently and like it makes you way more memorable than if you'd have just slapped your logo and your and Dustin's picture on the side of the billboard, something like that. But I think, yeah, you being willing to take that risk to get a little bit more community buy-in and memorability, I think has paid off in the long run for you guys.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think people also think like we'll hear testimonies from people who are like, we put up one billboard for 3 months and we never saw anything back from it. Like billboard and TV and radio are really long term. And we knew that. We had some very good counsel going into that. Like this is not a fast turnaround. And we knew that going in. So we were prepared. We knew that we were making an investment. It is an investment. And it took 12 to 18 months to really see, the leads kind of pick up and really brand awareness pick up. But I think having like these different campaigns, I think it did help. The other campaign that we did was with Little Lighthouse. It's an early intervention preschool that our daughter Gentry went to. We love it. We have supported them personally for years. And so it was really fun to be able to partner with them professionally. And so what we did is we sent them some coloring pictures with our logo on it. And with the theme of spring, they have a big thing that they do called the garden party. It's a big fundraiser. And so in coordination with that, they had kids color these coloring sheets, all these kids with different abilities, and we had 18 winners and or finalists, and then we put them out on Facebook and we let the families and friends of the students vote on them, and then the top three got scholarships for their fundraising for the school.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, and a
Yeah.
great way to can involve the community, involve, your customers or potential customers to be involved in this. And then I think it also just like humanizes you guys as individual people. Like you're not just some big corporation or some company that's looking to get in and out. Like, hey, we're
Yeah.
real people operating this business. Like we care about this preschool. We, have children that are struggling with the same things that you guys do. Like, it humanizes you guys. And sometimes customers just need that reminder of that and stuff. So that's great. Um, Now I want to talk a little bit about your guys' culture. So like I think you do some pretty unique and special things also, but like overall I would say you have like in the grand scheme of things a relatively like young team. So like I think y'all are willing to
Yeah.
like try to do some fun things and some things. So like how do you display your company's like personality of your team and of your culture like in your brand? Like what are some of those key things that you think customers can feel of like what working with you guys would be?
Yeah, so some of the things that number one, when people ask me the question about culture, I always like to say, look, we have had a very good foundation. Like even like growing, even though, we intentionally started growing 3 years ago, we have always been very intentional about our culture. So that the day one, so when we switched from commercial to residential, we sat down and hashed out core values and mission statement. And like literally Dustin laughs about it. It was him and another guy, another employee on Monday mornings. They would sit across from each other and they would recite the mission statement and the core values and they would go through them and say, how does this apply to how we're serving our customers? Not just recite them, but actually flesh them out and say, how does this reflect in our customer service? And so that happened for years. Monday mornings, that's what they would do, right? They would come together, they would have breakfast. And obviously that's not scalable. So as we started to grow, that turned into team meetings. They still rehearse the mission statement and the core values. This year we actually condensed the core values. So as we're growing, they're not confusing to people. We had like six before or something. So we condensed those. But one of the things the techs said they missed was that time of the whole team together. So we started implementing something that we call State of the Union. We get together once monthly. We have breakfast, and then we celebrate. We hear from each team and the managers. We celebrate weird jobs, like they show like the grossest pictures ever because we're plumbers, and we celebrate reviews. We share reviews. Each team shares reviews, and then of course we give out money to first fifths and things like that. But it's just a great time for everybody to get together and to, have a good time and just really build that culture. I think the other things that we do that are fun is like we have a heyday in the fall where everybody comes to our house and it's like a fall festival. It's for the families, everybody comes. Is a really good time. And then we all have a Christmas party, which a lot of companies do. Uh, and then we also like try to cook out during the spring and summer months, right? Like it seems so simple, but every other week we try to have the guys come into the shop and create some time where they can actually get to know each other.
That's great. Well, and community is or family is so important to you and Dustin. And I think you guys have created ways for that to be important in your team's culture. So including the family and family heydays and the Christmas parties and things like that. But I saw you post on social media not that long ago of you sending flowers
Yeah.
to the significant others of your employees when they hit their year anniversaries and stuff.
Yeah, so that stemmed from me. And so that's a personal little touch from me because I lived that life, right? Like I'm married to a plumber. He's not in the field anymore, but just the late nights and the gross laundry and like all the things. So I started sending flowers to the tech's wives on their work anniversaries just to let them know that we appreciate them and that we understand that it's not just the tech that works for us, it's the whole family that's, affected by Half Moon and what we do here.
No, I mean 100%. I think that's so amazing. And you know, you got to be happy at home to be happy at work. And if things are that way, then it'll trickle on down into being into your business, whatever's going on at home with them and stuff. And so as you can show appreciation and recognition to like, hey, we know the whole family is a part of this and stuff. I
Yep.
think showing that appreciation, it helps them the significant others to know, like, hey, they work for a good company. Like, I know they're putting in long hours, but like, it's for a good cause. They're really doing something. They're really appreciated there at work. That can go a long way. And again, probably not in a direct like ROI or like, we sent flowers to the wife and we saw this, but like, it's that intangibleness that helps keep that culture alive and that
Yep.
appreciation that, pays off in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. And with I will say, like, even with everything that we do here, we still have pushback about taking the late calls and things like that. And part of our team still had, like Dustin's one of them, they still have like the old school mindset of, you know, we have a phrase that we like to say around here. It's not very politically correct, but it's shut up and plumb, right? Like don't just shut up and plumb, stop whining. And so there's still that, but then this new generation, a lot of them are not even motivated by money, right? They're motivated by time with family. And so we've tried to be really open-minded about that. And I don't know that we've been successful at it yet, but we've rearranged some like on-call schedules and things like that to really make sure that they're, off at a reasonable time, and that the on-call person is taking kind of those filler late calls. Um, we're working on it, right? Like, so, yeah, they're definitely motivated, differently than I would say the older generation, which that's crazy. Like we're the older generation, but, yeah, it's definitely been, growing for us to like have that younger demographic.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned a couple years ago, like putting a big goal up there, and I'm sure you guys have tried to do like other goals and things like that. How do you get, or what are some unique ways of how you get the team buy-in, or like keep that culture strong, or like get everyone motivated of like, hey, let's all try to reach this goal? Do you have any things that you guys have done to get that team buy-in?
Yeah, so I will, like, you had sent me a list of questions and it was like, have you ever had to rebuild your culture? And I thought that was very interesting. I hadn't ever thought about it in that way. I don't think we had to rebuild it, but we did when we set the goal, it was definitely different. Like just the way the business operated operationally. Before we didn't have KPIs and SOPs and nobody was being held accountable. And now they were. And, we had some pushback. Like, I'll just be transparent. And we were talking a little bit before the call, like, being a business owner is like being on a roller coaster, right? And sometimes it makes you sick and you feel like you get punched in the gut. And we definitely had some of those moments. And so I think in those times, we just double down on who we are. Like, who are we as people? What is our character? And what is Half Moon? Like, what are our core values? And we just went over that and just really provided clarity, um, with our technicians, and we just spoke truth to them. Like, I mean, we were completely honest. Like, here's the P&L. Like, if you have questions, if you think we're being greedy, for whatever reason, like here's the P&L. Like we can go through this with you. And we have to, to make this goal, we have to sell, and to make profit, we have to sell. And so just really being transparent with the technicians. And maybe that's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you don't feel comfortable being that transparent, but that's just kind of who we are. We've had people actually tell us that we're too transparent. But that's just who we are.
Well, I think I think transparency builds trust. And a lot of times when you're not transparent, there's still a veil that people don't understand for whatever
Right.
reason. They just never had that exposure. Like, we had a team member come to us and was like, y'all are bringing on way too many clients. There's no way we can do this. We can't take on any more clients, but I also need a raise. And it's like, okay, we can't add any more revenue, but we need to pay. And like, she's like, I've never thought about it that way. And you're like, as an owner, you're like, how can you never
Yep.
think it? But like, they never have that exposure or reason to. But sometimes when you are transparent, like, paint the bigger picture, or like, hey, you want them to think like an owner, or like see what I see. Sometimes you got to be transparent and like, this is what I see. Like, um,
Yep.
and so I do think that transparency can build trust, and it removes the guards down, clarity of
Yeah.
kindness. I love that.
Yeah. And like, just from the owner's perspective, know when you do that, like you're probably going to be burned. Like we were
Sure.
burned. Like when a year into our growth, We had three service techs, and two of them quit to go start their own business, and we were personally close to one of them. And it was hard. And we had rumors that we'd sold our soul to the devil, and we were chasing money, and all these things just because we were actually wanting a profitable business. I mean, before that, like I said before, we were just running a business. We weren't growing a business. And we weren't running it well, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Well, and there's a big difference,
Yeah,
between just running and doing just showing up haphazardly every day and like on a trajectory for growth. But like what I always say is like, when you're growth minded and like you're gonna do whatever it takes to like still be around in 5 years, in 10 years, in a next generation, like you've got to put those things in place because it might seem like you're money hungry or greedy or whatever, like you're setting yourself up for the future and for the longevity for your customers, but your own teammates.
right.
Not like, are we gonna have to lay people off this season because we didn't put those things in place and
Yep.
stuff. So, um, no, I love that. And so like recently, like in the very past few months, you guys have added sewer and adding electrical. So I know those are some kind of like bigger like services and stuff that you're adding. Tell us about that.
So we added electrical. I mean, technically we added it last year, but it wasn't fully rolled out until January. And this is one that I've been kind of nagging Dustin about for a while. Um, so we just had the right guy. It's the twin brother of our install manager. He's an electrician. It just ha happened. The timing was good. And we brought him on, and it kind of snowballed, honestly. Like we started using him just to use like when we install tankless, he was putting the outlets in. And then our customer's like, "Oh, you're an electrician and you're with Half Moon. Like, come look at my fan." And so it kind of just snowballed. And so we did a full rollout at the beginning of the year, and it's been going really well. We have a team of three right now, three electricians, and they're doing pretty good. We're just still trying to get, our feet on the ground with leads. But they're doing really good. We're really excited about that. And then we just decided we're going to do septic. So which just calls a little crazy. We're just biting off two verticals in 1 year. And so we're hoping to have that rolled out in June. Uh, Septic was pretty easy. We already get probably 5 to 10 calls a week that we're not even advertising for, because it's just naturally in the scope of plumbing. So we think that that's going to go really well.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, and you even mentioned it like, your customers like, oh, Half Moon now does this. And so like when you've built that trust and that authority and, people know and trust your brand, you can kind of go and add any vertical and,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier than starting from the ground up. And I think you guys have been very intentional to do that. So. Um, well, ladies, feel free to drop any questions down in the chat or even come off mute. You can ask Tiffany. I know she's an open book, but I've enjoyed, all the insights and everything that you've been giving us. And we got a few questions here. So let me start with the first one from Rachel. How did you overcome taking that hit so early on? My husband and I relaunched an HVAC business last year with a longtime apprentice and friend, and he unfortunately left by the end of the year. So taking that hit of losing some key team members.
So one thing that we had started is we have our Half Moon U, and I'm just going to tell you, like, it was messy at the beginning. We've have it kind of refined now, but so we had five guys that were in the U. They were green as cucumbers. I mean, just didn't know. Dustin likes to say they don't know a pea trap from a pickle, right? So they're green, and we rolled them out pretty fast after those two service techs left. And it took heavy, heavy management. I mean, we were like in it, right? Our managers were in it. They were on the phone with them before the call, during the call, after the call. Like we were heavy-handed on the managers for a while during that time frame. But it just really taught us that you have to have a pipeline. You have to keep recruiting. You have to have people on the bench. And so now our system's pretty refined. We start them in the warehouse as well, warehouse helpers. Even if they have a little plumbing experience, they come into the warehouse to see if they're going to be culturally a good fit. and to see if they can be humble. A lot of them can't be humble for, 4 to 6 weeks. And if they can't do that, they probably don't belong here. But so now we just have a pipeline. They start in the warehouse and then they go to the field to be an apprentice. And then based on their peer reviews, they'll get admitted to the Half Moon University. And so that's a 12-week class where they learn how we plumb at Half Moon Plumbing. And then if they graduate that, then they get to go to a van. And of course, their journeyman, they get to take their test in 3 years or whatever. So that's kind of that's a quick rundown of how we keep people in the pipeline now. But during that time, it was really, really, I mean, it was hard.
I love that. But you're right. Like creating again, future proofing it and
Yep.
having things in place. And like it also gives you time to figure out like, are they going to be a good fit? And like it's so much easier to weed someone out early than like later when they are running a truck and like they're more incorporated and
Yep.
influential to the team at large and stuff. So another question down the chat. What does your digital marketing look like? What are your marketing goals in terms of prospects and current customers?
Well, we use Lemon Seed and they've helped me out a lot. There's a name drop for you.
Thank
Yeah, so honestly, right now, our best leads, and a lot of people will say this, is LSA, right? LSA is really good. It's really good in Owasso. We're getting better in Tulsa. Um, PPC has kind of been a mess for us. We just started using a new digital company vendor for that. And so we're still trying to get that kind of all those kinks worked out. But yeah, I would say, and we spend a lot of money in digital. Our goal is to eventually swap the percentages. We would like to have more branding, more mass media than we do digital. We want to be out of the Google game, as I say. Um, but it is what it is right now. So,
Well, and like when you make that shift of, hey, we're going to invest more in branding and just like building our name, our awareness, like top of the mind funnel, again, you don't see that direct ROI, but like you should see like your direct organic search, like people searching for you
yes.
directly to where you get out of that rat race of like, okay, who paid more
Yep.
for PPC ads? Like, to where it does start to shift that balance. And again, it takes time,
Yeah.
but
And I will say, like, we have an amazing SEO guy who takes care of us. He's a local guy. Um, and we were with a very large company before that, and they could not get us listed in the Tulsa market. And within 6 months, he had us in the top 10, and we're always in the top three now. We're about 18 months in with him. And so SEO has been going very well. And one way that you can see that SEO and like mass marketing is working is that your average ticket will go up because
right.
people are recognizing the brand and they have trust in the brand.
Yeah, sure. When they've seen you in other places, like they've seen
Yep.
a billboard, they've heard you on the radio, they see you on the community, like they already feel like they know and trust you more and that you're more legitimized, like to
Yep.
where like it justifies a little bit higher of an average ticket and it's not as in question at that point. Um, so Ashley also asked like what's next? Where are y'all going from here? Like what's next on your goals? I know you said like electrical really rolling that out and septic coming up this year, but like is there anything else?
I guess we'll just wake up and see what Dustin has on his list tomorrow. The immediate goal is 15 million at the end of the year, 13 in plumbing, which is still a little bit of growth, but not overwhelming. And we're really focusing on growing the electrical. We haven't even put a goal on the septic yet. I mean, I guess the goal would be just keep one truck busy for the rest of the year. And then I think the big hairy goal is probably, I don't know, 25 million. We'll see what we can do. But
Well, thank you for sharing all of your insights and y'all's journey along the way. I feel 100% confident that that's a big, hairy, audacious goal, but that you guys, your drive, and your team, and how you're building up your team members and stuff, I think you guys will definitely hit that. Like I said at the beginning, you've been one that I've seen, and I even saw someone on social media like, who is a person that like isn't on all the podcasts and stuff, but is doing really great things. And someone tagged Tiffany, and I was like, she's gonna be on our spotlight series. I was so excited. But again, you guys are doing good work, like putting your head down, putting in the good work, investing in your team, investing in your culture, investing in the customer journey and stuff. And it's paying off. And I think it will continue to grow. And you guys have a humbleness about you that makes the growth possible. You're not in your own way for it. And so thank you for sharing all your time and your insight. And so before we end up, guys, any last questions for Tiffany before we end? All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. And like I said, if you haven't already, go ahead and sign up for our marketing webinar, a workshop, very hands-on, sponsored by HVAC marketers. It's this Thursday at 1 Eastern. It's not too late to sign up. It's only $20, but I know you guys will get some real tangible things, running live audits, really walk away with some great things and how you can really change your spring tune-up session this week. So thank you guys for being here. We will see you guys next week or soon. Thank you. Bye.